Welcome to Perfectly Paralegal, where we give you the tools and information you'll need to be as perfect as your attorney expects you to be. Here to help you maintain your sanity is your host, Linda McGrath-Cruz.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Perfectly Paralegal podcast. I'm a full-time paralegal and also the owner of Perfectly Paralegal Consulting. My name is Linda McGrath-Cruz and I'm your host. I've been a paralegal for over 20 years, but I didn't start out with an interest in the law. Before we delve into the many subjects we will cover in this and future episodes, I wanted to take some time to tell you about my journey so that you can get to know me, appreciate where I'm coming from, and know what drives me. It was a dark and stormy night in 1977. Alright, I'm just kidding. We're not going to go back quite that far, so let's skip ahead a few years. I was actually a high school dropout. I had no interest in high school. I never felt challenged and I never wanted to be there. My guidance counselor saw my frustration and told me that I could take an exam to get my high school diploma without taking any further classes, and that's exactly what I did. I dropped out, got my GED, and went on with my life. I didn't really have any plans at the time. I did a little bit of everything, pretty short term, from grilling burgers at Target, making popcorn at a movie theater, selling lingerie at Victoria's Secrets, and even doing janitorial work in a hospital. I even had several sales jobs, including selling credit card processing machines to businesses door to door and selling steaks and magazines over the phone. Not very profitable, I can tell you that much. I eventually settled down with a secretarial job at a local hospital and decided my best bet would be to go to school to become a medical assistant. I got suckered into one of those fly-by-night for-profit colleges offering a specialized associate's degree for an obscene amount of money. I graduated with my degree and became a certified medical assistant. I worked as a medical assistant for a very short period of time, and I hated it. And to top it off, I was having transportation issues that made it difficult to get to the hospital where I worked. So I knew I needed a change, and I heard that being a paralegal was an awesome career choice that paid well and was really just all around fantastic. You guys have heard that too, right? Paralegals get paid sackloads of money, get amazing benefits, and of course, the everlasting fame. All right, maybe not quite. But anyway, with no paralegal experience or education, I pulled out the trusty phone book and cold called law firms in an area which I would be able to get to easily using public transportation. One of the first firms I called just happened to be looking for an immediate replacement for their long-term paralegal who had recently given notice. They hadn't even started advertising yet. They got me in for an interview right away and offered me the position later the same day. I found out a long time later that they only wanted a warm body in the seat to give them ample time to look around for someone with actual experience. They gave me an amazing opportunity. Out of desperation, yes, but an amazing opportunity to prove myself nonetheless. And prove myself I did. I was very self-sufficient and learned quickly, and I ended up being there for almost 14 years. We were originally a specialized department of a larger firm, and that department later broke off to create a smaller general practice firm. The attorneys did a little bit of this and that, and the majority of the time I was the only non-attorney staff member supporting 5 to 6 attorneys. Whether it was acting as a receptionist, office manager, IT, legal secretary, paralegal, or simply accomplishing the impossible on a daily basis, I did it all. The great thing was, it gave me such a broad range of experience. I truly learned that there was no such thing as "that's not my job" when it comes to being an integral part of a legal team. Whatever task needed to be done or problem needed to be solved, I always found a way. As my true passion for the paralegal field blossomed, I found myself wanting for a more focused paralegal position where I could fine-tune my skills without the concern of the administrative minutia that was such a distraction in my current position at the time. This experience is what inspired all things Perfectly Paralegal, but more about that later. After almost 14 years of small firm life, I made the switch to a larger firm with multiple offices in different states, hundreds of attorneys, and staff that did everything. There were receptionists, file clerks, IT professionals, legal secretaries, other paralegals, and even a professional administrator. Gone were the days of a desk in the middle of an open space where every little thing was a constant distraction. I had an amazing office with a door I could close when I needed to focus on a project, and awesome administrative support so that I could focus on actual billable paralegal work. I loved it, and the work made me truly happy. Stressed and exhausted, yes, but so happy. I couldn't have asked for a better team. I was a trial paralegal and traveled with my attorneys for depositions, summary judgment hearings, and of course, trials, and I loved every minute of it. However, as the years passed, I became more and more involved in the paralegal community as a whole, and there came a time when I had to weigh my career of being a trial paralegal and its unpredictable and all-consuming schedule against my love of all things paralegal, including, of course, the annual paralegal cruise. It was no secret that I've always been a cruise addict. The paralegal cruise was born from my love of cruising, and it was a well-known fact, even at my current office, that I would have taken a litigation paralegal position at a cruise line in a heartbeat. So by chance, an in-house litigation opportunity presented itself to me at just the perfect time, and in May of 2015, I made the move and began working in the risk management department of Royal Caribbean Cruises. I'm still doing a lot of the same type of litigation paralegal work I was doing before, minus the unpredictable and all-consuming trial schedule. Before we talk about Perfectly Paralegal, let's briefly talk about my formal educational background and certifications. Several years after I started working at my first firm, I went back to school to begin my formal education in paralegal studies. My original associate's degree in medical assisting was worthless. The school had lost their accreditation and shut down. I couldn't even use that degree to get into community college. I started working on an associate's in paralegal studies program at Miami-Dade Community College. Towards the end of the program, I transferred to Barry University to complete a bachelor's program in legal studies. As part of the bachelor's program, I was also awarded 2 separate paralegal certificates. One of the requirements to graduate was sitting for the NALA Certified Paralegal exam. They didn't care if you passed it or not, or what your future goals were, but because of this requirement, I obtained my Certified Paralegal designation from NALA in 2007, and later went on to earn 5 different ACPs, including Discovery, e-Discovery, Trial Practice, Social Security Disability, and Premises Liability. I also became a Florida Registered Paralegal through the Florida Bar in 2008 when that program began. After I graduated from the bachelor's degree program at Barry, I returned to Miami-Dade and took some additional classes to graduate with an associate's in secondary education, because I also clearly have a passion for education. In 2015, I started a master's program through National Paralegal College and graduated in 2017 with my master's in legal studies. I'm not sure what I'll do next, but I do have a love of continuing both formal education and certification, so I'm sure I'll be working on something new soon enough. So before we move on to other topics, let me tell you briefly about Perfectly Paralegal and those things that drove my paralegal passion outside of the office. This venture first started as an email newsletter in early 2010. My desire to move from small firm life to something grander meant I had to make a name for myself. Making that move can be difficult. Larger firms tend to look for larger firm experience, and I was pretty much a nobody in the legal scene. So I started an email newsletter as a way to network and make connections. It grew over time and soon had outgrown my simple email capabilities, and the website was born. At the time, it was simply called Linda's Paralegal Resources. The content is similar today as it was when it started in 2010. Job openings, CLE opportunities, rule changes, tips and tricks, and other items of interest to paralegals specifically. I also started attending local CLEs and networking events in an effort to build my network. I don't want to bore you with all the little details of my paralegal activities over the years. All of the information can be easily found online on the blog or on my LinkedIn page as well. But the important thing to know is that I was involved with local, state, and national organizations on a variety of levels, and also taught continuing education for a number of those organizations as well. I started Perfectly Paralegal because I felt we lacked a resource where material was truly directed to paralegals and was both affordable and quality, meaning it provided actual materials that a paralegal could learn from and take away at least a few tips or tricks to put into effect in their job. The name Perfectly Paralegal is a play on words. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. However, it refers to our attorneys' expectation of perfection when they themselves are far from it. Perfectly Paralegal is a community resource for all paralegals who strive to be perfect in an imperfect field. Through the blog, Facebook communities, YouTube tutorials, and other online resources, we welcome and support paralegals in all areas of the law and from all backgrounds and experience levels. Perfectly Paralegal is also the host of the annual Paralegals Navigating Perilous Waters cruise event and other practical education opportunities. You can find links to all of these resources at our website, perfectlyparalegal.com. So now you know all about me and my background. So let's move on to this week's topic. In this episode, we're talking about paralegal experience or the lack thereof.
Before we get started, let's take a quick moment to learn about one of our awesome business partners.
The National Association of Professional Process Servers is a worldwide organization of the largest community of professional process servers and the first resource for credible information regarding the profession. NAPS was founded in 1982 and has thousands of members who are committed to being accountable, reliable, and valuable to their legal clients, the courts, and the parties and witnesses they serve. You can use their convenient membership directory to find NAPS members in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, 7 Canadian provinces, and nearly 24 foreign countries. You can learn more today at naps.org. That's napps.org.
Are you already booked on the next annual Paralegal Cruise? If not, visit paralegalcruise.com today. See you on board.
So today we're talking about paralegal experience or lack thereof. Time and time again, I hear from paralegal hopefuls who say that they have no paralegal experience, but they want to break into the legal field. Since most states have no set requirements to work as a paralegal, employers get to pretty much set their own requirements. These requirements can be any combination of education, work experience, or certification, or quite frankly, none of the above. The only thing more varied than the requirements to become a paralegal are the job responsibilities of a paralegal. Paralegal responsibilities vary wildly from one area of practice to another, and from one firm to another, and even with attorneys in the same firm. There is an almost endless list of responsibilities that may be expected from a paralegal depending on the preferences of their employer. Keeping this in mind, a person may have no official paralegal experience, but the odds are that they have some experience doing something that could be useful depending on the practice area or law firm preferences. The tricky part is figuring out how to turn that experience into an opportunity in the paralegal field. Now, keep in mind, if your only experience is flipping burgers at McDonald's during high school, it may be hard to convince a corporate law firm that that experience is relevant. But sometimes you simply need to think outside the box, and I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The last time I was speaking at Miami-Dade Community College to their recent graduates, one of the young ladies from the paralegal program told me that she had no law firm or paralegal experience and was having a hard time getting her foot in the door. However, after speaking with her, I learned that she had over 25 years of work experience in planning and zoning. 15 of those years, she worked for a local governmental agency that handles the issuance of permits and certificates of occupancy, among other things. And then an additional 10 years as the owner of a business that dealt with issuing construction permits and played a major role in the development of procedures in the local construction industry. Her background made me think of my prior firm, which in part handled construction-related matters and frequently dealt with the local government on these kinds of issues, and also represented construction companies in getting licenses issued. Also in my second firm, which handled permitting and occupational licenses, among other things for their large corporate clients. I can definitely see that hands-on insider knowledge could be a real asset. So while she may not have official paralegal experience in a law firm, she certainly has experience that could be very valuable to a law firm that handles construction or certain real estate matters, or even in an in-house legal department of a corporation working with their permitting department. Another student who was also about to graduate from the same program with about 15 years of experience working with the Department of Children and Family Services also told me that she had no paralegal experience and was interested in getting into family law. Upon speaking to her, I learned that she had been a caseworker and had been promoted to a supervisory level, so she had a lot of real hands-on experience. I thought it was a no-brainer, but she really hadn't even considered the fact that she could focus on her experience handling family issues, custody issues, abuse allegations, and more, which is all very relevant in a family law practice which might be dealing with similar issues in custody battles. She went from no paralegal experience to having a unique skill set with insider knowledge of the very system that many families have to fight. These are just two very specific examples, but there are so many different areas of experience that might be helpful in the paralegal field. Sure, you need to learn all of the other things, but if you have some skills that could be useful, you just need to figure out how to market them. It may not guarantee you a job, but it's definitely better than simply saying, I have no experience. If you have medical experience, even if it's minor, you may be able to use that to your advantage in a firm that handles personal injury or medical malpractice cases. If you have banking or financing experience, you may be able to use that in a firm that handles corporate work. If you work in the real estate industry, you may be able to use that knowledge in a firm that handles real estate transaction work. So I hope I've given you some ideas today of how you can put your prior experience to use while searching for a paralegal position with no experience. If you're not sure how you can match your specific existing skills to a potential law firm position, hop on over to the Facebook group and let's have a chat.
Thanks for listening to the Perfectly Paralegal Podcast with Linda McGrath Cruz. Be sure to share, subscribe, and connect with us online for even more resources and support. Learn more at perfectlyparalegal.com.